Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. I'm going to talk about what every long-term disability policyholder has to know about exclusions in their disability insurance policy. When you apply for disability insurance, you're going to be asked a lot of questions about your medical history and your hobbies. Your answers might mean that certain medical conditions you have are excluded for a period of time, or a disability caused by certain activity can be excluded from coverage. And there will be exclusion riders added to your policy that will limit the benefits that are payable for these certain medical conditions or certain activities. So let's learn about the two common exclusions and the price for not telling the truth. When you apply for disability insurance, you're going to be asked a lot of questions about your medical conditions so the carrier can determine if they're going to cover a disability caused by a pre-existing condition. And you're also going to be asked about whether you participate in dangerous activities like scuba diving, rock climbing, flying, skydiving, or other activities that the carrier might consider to be dangerous. Let's first talk about pre-existing conditions. The disability carrier is going to ask these questions to determine their risk that they will have to pay you benefits for a pre-existing condition as a result of an accident or injury occurred. And this is done by the underwriting specialist. Now, what's important here are the medical conditions that you have at the time you apply. It's not uncommon for policies to exclude medical conditions you have. So let's say, for example, you're a dentist and you have carpal tunnel syndrome. You can fully expect that the disability carrier is going to exclude coverage for any disability arising out of carpal tunnel. They'll have you sign the rider that says, look, we're not going to pay any benefits for carpal tunnel, or they may say we won't pay benefits for carpal tunnel if you are disabled in this certain period of time. And I actually had that happen to one of my clients who was a dentist. Fortunately, he was smart enough to contact me before he stopped working, and we looked at his disability policy, and there was in fact a rider limiting coverage for carpal tunnel. But the problem that he had was arthritis in his fingers, particularly in his thumb, that made it difficult for him to hold and use instruments. Now, I knew the disability carrier was going to say, aha, carpal tunnel, carpal tunnel. So what we did before he stopped working and apply for benefits was to have him treat with an orthopedic surgeon. We got x-rays that documented the damage to the joint in his fingers, particularly his thumb. We had a physical exam address the limited range of motion and the problems with grip and the tingling and numbness. But we were able to establish that it wasn't carpal tunnel that was causing these problems. It was the arthritic condition in his hand. Now, ultimately, he got his disability benefits, notwithstanding the rider for carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, you're also asked, what dangerous activities do you do? Do you do rock climbing and scuba diving? Do you fly? Do you do heli-skiing? Those activities are important because the carrier is going to consider whether they want to insure you if you are disabled as a result of an accident or injury caused while you're doing these activities. They're risk adverse. It's as simple as that. And they don't want to pay for disability benefits caused by activities that are commonly known to cause injury or even death. Now, there are also some other common policy exclusions that you need to understand. If you are injured while you're engaging in active war or by an act of war, engaged in criminal activity, and even foreign travel, disability benefits might be excluded. Now, what happens if you don't tell the truth? The answer is pretty simple. If you become disabled and you apply for benefits, the carrier is going to do an investigation of your medical records to determine what the cause of disability is. Is it due to that pre-existing condition that they excluded, or is it due to a condition that you failed to disclose at the time you applied for benefits? That can result in a claims denial. Not telling the truth about your medical condition can result in the whole policy being voided if you become disabled in a certain period of time after your application and the policy becomes effective. Now, the other thing is going to be that they'll refund the premium. And they'll say, well, too bad, so sad. You didn't tell us the truth. You have no insurance, but here's your money back. And I assure you, you're going to have a fight on your hands. Telling the truth is crucial. Not only is it crucial to determine whether or not you are going to have coverage, but the nature of that coverage. So do yourself a favor and be honest, because carriers do investigations and they will deny a claim if you've lied, or if your condition is due to a pre-existing condition that's been excluded by the terms of the rider, or you're engaging in activities that you shouldn't be doing that are specifically excluded, again, by the terms of the policy or the rider. Well, that's it for this episode. If you like this podcast, consider liking our page, leaving a review, or sharing it with your friends and family. Remember, our podcast comes out weekly, so tune in next week for another episode of Winning Isn't Easy. Thanks.